William Carter straightened his blue uniform jacket as he walked through the grand hallway of the Galactic Council building. Tall windows showed the stars and 3 nearby moons. This was his 5th year as Earth's ambassador, but today felt different. His deputy, Lisa Gray, walked beside him, her face serious. "They called this meeting too quickly," Lisa said quietly. "Something's wrong." William nodded. "I think so too. Did you notice how the Zith representatives wouldn't look at us during yesterday's dinner? They entered the massive council chamber. 500 seats formed a circle around a central speaking area. Most seats were filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some looked almost human. Others had tentacles, scales, or glowing parts. The room buzzed with quiet talk in many languages. William and Lisa took their seats in the human section. Earth had joined the council 30 years ago. Humans were still called newcomers by the older species. The Zith, with their tall purple bodies and 4 arms, had been council members for over 10,000 years. They ran most important committees. The council leader, a Zith named Calamore, stood up. His voice boomed through the chamber. "This emergency session will now begin." William felt uneasy. Emergency sessions were rare. "We have discovered that the human delegation has broken council law," Calamore announced. "They have developed quantum phase technology without permission." Loud voices filled the room. William stood up quickly. "That's not true. We reported our research last year." The Zith leader ignored him. "This technology is restricted. Earth was told this when they joined us." Lisa whispered, "They approved our research request. I have the documents." William nodded. "They're changing the rules again." A screen appeared, showing images of Earth's quantum labs. William recognized them from a tour he had given to council visitors 6 months ago. "The humans have gone too far this time," said a Vrexian delegate, her scaled face twisted with fake concern. "They are too young a species to handle such power." More voices agreed. William noticed that most came from species closely allied with the Zith. Calamore raised his 4 hands for quiet. "The Council proposes that Earth be placed under protective oversight for their own safety." William knew what that meant. Earth would lose control of its military and technology. Council advisors would have final say on all important decisions. 3 other young species lived under such protection. They were basically slaves who provided resources to the older races. Lisa passed him a message pad. It showed an urgent note from Earth's President Donahue. "Do note AACCPT any reistrex hijans. We AAVDISUSSEDTAS. You can do what to do." William did know. For years, Earth had prepared for this moment. The Council had never treated humans as equals. They restricted technology, limited human expansion to nearby stars, and demanded resources while giving little in return. Calamore called for a vote. William watched as hands, tentacles, and light patterns signaled support for the proposal. Only 12 species voted against it. The rest either supported the Zith or abstained. "The vote passes," Calamore announced. "Earth will come under protective oversight immediately." William stood up. The room grew quiet. Everyone expected him to argue or beg. "For 30 years, humanity has tried to be a good council member," he said calmly. "We have followed your rules. We have given our resources. We have limited our growth." He paused. "And in return, you have treated us like children." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of many delegates. "Earth will not accept your oversight. Instead, as of this moment, humanity officially withdraws from the Galactic Council." Shocked voices erupted throughout the chamber. No species had left the Council in over 2,000 years. "You cannot," Calamore began. "We can, and we have," William interrupted. "Our decision is final." He nodded to Lisa, and they both stood up. Without another word, they walked out of the chamber. William could feel hundreds of eyes watching them leave. As the massive doors closed behind them, Lisa whispered, "Do you think we just made a terrible mistake?" William shook his head. No, I think we just became truly free for the first time. In orbit above them, human ships were already preparing to leave Council space. On Earth, military forces moved to high alert status. The age of playing by the Council's rules was over. News of Earth's exit from the Galactic Council spread faster than light across the stars. Within hours, every major world knew that humans had done the unthinkable. In the White House Situation Room, President Elaine Donahue stood before a large screen showing dots of light moving across space. Each dot was a human ship racing home from Council territory. "How many ships are still out there?" she asked. "About 300 civilian vessels and 40 military ships," replied Defense Secretary Paul Boyd. "Most should reach safe space within 3 days." Elaine nodded. "And our defenses? All military bases are at highest alert. The fleet is spread through the solar system. We've activated the shield network around Earth and major colonies." No one said what everyone was thinking. It might not be enough. The Council controlled thousands of worlds and massive fleets. Earth had only settled 12 planets and had a much smaller navy. "Madam President," said a young woman entering the room, "the Zith ambassador is demanding to see you." "Tell Ambassador Vorkax I'm unavailable," Elaine said firmly. "All communication with Council representatives must go through proper channels now." In another part of Washington, D.C., Maria Wright sat in her small office at the Bureau of Galactic Intelligence. Her job was to watch communication patterns between alien species. Her computer screen showed unusual activity. "That's strange," she muttered, adjusting her glasses. 7 species that rarely talked to each other were suddenly exchanging many messages. All 7 were middle-level Council members, not powerful like the Zith, but not newcomers like humans. She sent a quick message to her boss. "Possible coalition forming. Need to investigate." Meanwhile, on the Galactic Council station, William Carter and Lisa Gray packed their offices. Armed human guards stood nearby. The Council had given Earth's delegation 48 hours to leave. "Ambassador Carter," said a station worker at the door. "A message for you." William took the small data chip. The worker quickly left. "Who's it from?" Lisa asked. William inserted the chip into his secure reader. "It's from the Novelli and Breskin delegations. They want to meet privately before we leave." He looked surprised. "At a location away from Council monitoring." Lisa raised her eyebrows. "That's against Council rules." "We don't follow Council rules anymore," William reminded her with a small smile. "And I'm curious why they want to talk." The next morning, William and Lisa took a small shuttle to a maintenance station nearby. They wore plain clothes with no Earth symbols. 2 figures waited for them inside an empty storage room. A tall, blue-skinned Novelli with feathery hair and a short, stocky Breskin with golden scales. "Thank you for coming," said the Novelli. "Kelenar, what you did yesterday was brave. Many of us have wanted to do the same for centuries." "The Council isn't what it claims to be," added Trill, the Breskin. "They say they guide younger species, but they really control them." William was surprised. "I thought most species respected the Council." Kelenar looked around nervously. "We pretend to. We must. But there are many who secretly admire what Earth has done." "You should know," Trill said quietly. "You aren't the first to leave, but others who tried suffered greatly. Mysterious attacks. Disasters that required Council help to survive. Are you warning us?" Lisa asked. "Yes," said Kelenar. "But also," he hesitated, "5 other delegations wish to speak with you, privately, before you return to Earth." William and Lisa exchanged looks. This was unexpected. "Who?" William asked. "The Jerry, the Palaxians, the Dorn Collective, the V, and the Tauri," said Trill. "All have suffered under Council rule for centuries." "We'll meet them," William decided. "Tonight." As they left, Lisa whispered, "This changes everything. We thought we were alone." William nodded. Maybe leaving the Council wasn't the end of something. He paused. Maybe it was the beginning. Back on Earth, Captain Frank Reeves aboard the patrol ship Vigilant noticed unusual energy readings near Neptune. When he adjusted his sensors, he briefly detected something that shouldn't be there. A cloaked ship, then another, and another. Alert command. He ordered his communications officer. We have visitors. William Carter and Lisa Gray entered a small room deep inside the maintenance station. 7 alien representatives waited for them. William recognized each species: the blue-skinned Novelli, the golden-scaled Breskins, the tiny floating Jerry, the plant-like Palaxians, the metallic Dorn, the shadow-shifting V, and the four-eyed Tory. "Thank you for coming," William said. "I didn't expect to meet in such unusual circumstances." Kelnar, the Novelli, spoke first. "For centuries, we have only talked like this in secret. The Council monitors everything. Why all the secrecy?" Lisa asked. "The Council claims to promote cooperation." The Tory representative laughed bitterly. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "The Council promotes control, not cooperation." "Let me tell you a story," said the Palaxian, her leaf-like hair moving gently. "My species joined the Council 800 years ago. We were welcomed as equals, given technology, helped to settle new worlds." She paused. "Then we discovered something that threatened Zith power. Suddenly, we were too aggressive and needed guidance. Our fleets were limited, our research controlled." Each representative shared similar stories. The Jerry had been forced to give up rich mining planets. The Dorn had their advanced AI research stopped. The V were told their unique phase-shifting abilities were dangerous and restricted. "We've been watching humans since you joined," said Trill, the Breskin. "You reminded us of ourselves before the Council broke our spirit. You question. You push boundaries. You don't simply obey. That's why the Zith targeted you," added the V representative, his form shifting between solid and shadow. "Your quantum phase research frightened them." "Frightened?" William asked, surprised. "The Zith control half the galaxy. What could they fear from us?" The 7 aliens exchanged looks. Kelnar nodded slowly. "You're not the first to leave the Council," he said. "Over the past 5,000 years, 14 species have tried to leave. Each suffered mysterious disasters soon after. Plagues, asteroid strikes, civil wars suddenly erupting. Each time, the species was forced to beg the Council for help." Lisa leaned forward. "Are you saying the Council caused these disasters?" "We have proof," said the Dorn, his metallic skin reflecting the dim light. "We've been gathering evidence for centuries, slowly, carefully." Trill placed a small device on the table. It projected images of ancient Council meetings, secret communications, and restricted facilities. "The Council, led by the oldest races, has been harvesting resources from younger species for millennia," he explained. "They find promising worlds, welcome them to the galactic community, then slowly drain them of resources, technology, and independence. The Zith and their closest allies sit at the top," added the Jerry, her tiny body glowing with emotion. "The rest of us serve them, whether we know it or not." William was shocked. "Why are you telling us this now?" "Because you did what we couldn't," said Kellar. "You left. Publicly, proudly, and others noticed. Your action has created cracks in the Council," explained the Tory. "For the first time in centuries, delegates are questioning Zith authority. If Earth survives independence, others might follow." Lisa finished. "The Council will not allow that," warned the Palaxian. "They're already moving against you. Cloaked ships entering your system, agents activating on your worlds." William stood straighter. "We suspected they wouldn't let us go easily, but we have defenses." "Not enough," said Trill grimly. "Not against the full Council fleet." "Then why tell us this?" Lisa asked. "If we're doomed anyway." Kelnar smiled for the first time. "Because you're not alone." The 7 representatives stood together. We cannot openly rebel yet, said the V, but we can help in secret. Ships, intelligence, technology, listed the Dorn. Small things that won't be noticed. A silent alliance, said the Palaxian. If Earth stands against the Council and survives, then we will stand with you openly, finished Kelnar. William looked at these beings from across the galaxy. Yesterday they were strangers. Now they were Earth's only friends among the stars. What do you need from us? He asked. Hope, replied Trill simply. Show us that freedom is possible. As William and Lisa prepared to leave, Kelnar gave them one final warning. The quantum phase technology that caused this crisis. It's more powerful than you know. The Council isn't just afraid of your independence. They're afraid of what you might discover about the true nature of the universe. Captain Frank Reeves floated in his spacesuit outside the Vigilant. Through his helmet, he watched as 3 small drones returned from their scouting mission near Neptune. Send the data to my display, he ordered. Numbers and images appeared before his eyes. The energy readings were clear now. 23 cloaked ships had positioned themselves in the outer solar system. They were Zith warships, sleek, purple vessels built for destruction. Frank returned to the Vigilant and called Earth immediately. This is Captain Reeves. I have confirmed 23 cloaked Zith vessels near Neptune. Request instructions. His screen showed General Patricia Gomes, the head of Earth's Space Defense Force. Her face was serious. You're not the only one who's found them, Captain, she said. We've detected similar ships near Mars, Venus, and in the asteroid belt. At least 60 vessels total. Frank felt cold despite his suit's heating. That's an invasion fleet. Yes, but they haven't attacked yet. They're positioning themselves, waiting for something. She leaned closer to the screen. Your new orders. Maintain distance but continue monitoring. Do not engage unless attacked. After the call ended, Frank looked at the star map showing the Zith positions. They had surrounded Earth's solar system like a net closing around fish. Meanwhile, in a secret laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, Kevin Bell worked frantically at his computer. Screens around him showed complex equations and strange, shifting patterns of light. Kevin was the lead scientist on the quantum phase project, the research that had angered the Council. I found something, he called to his team. Look at this energy pattern. Dr. Alice Wu joined him, pushing her glasses up her nose as she studied the screen. That's impossible, she whispered. Not impossible. Just unexpected, Kevin said. The quantum phase effect doesn't just create energy. It's connecting to something else. Something outside normal space. The Council must have known this, Alice said. That's why they were so determined to stop our research. Kevin nodded. And why they're here now. He pointed to another screen showing the positions of the cloaked Zith ships. We need to weaponize this technology immediately. In Washington, D.C., President Elaine Donahue met with her military and intelligence leaders in a secure bunker deep underground. The mood was grim. They'd surrounded us, General Gomes explained, showing the Zith ship positions. Standard military strategy. They'll attack all at once, from all directions. Our defenses, Elaine asked. Not enough for a direct confrontation, admitted Secretary Boyd. We have shield technology for our major cities and some advanced weapons, but nothing that can match their full fleet. Maria Wright, the intelligence analyst, spoke next. We've found evidence of Council agents already on Earth and our colonies. They've been here for years, sabotaging our defensive systems. So we're compromised from within and surrounded from without, Elaine summarized. She took a deep breath. What about Operation Scattered Stars? General Gomes smiled slightly. Already underway. 300 civilian ships secretly carrying military personnel and equipment left for our outer colonies 2 days ago. We've been preparing hidden bases for years as a contingency. The Council doesn't know about all our settlements. And our allies? Elaine asked. Ambassador Carter, who had just returned from space, stepped forward. 7 species have pledged secret support. They're taking enormous risks to help us. Elaine stood up and looked at each person in the room. We all knew this might happen when we joined the Council 30 years ago. We've been preparing ever since. Now we face the moment of truth. She walked to the window, which showed a live view of the night sky despite being underground. Humanity has always been fighters, survivors. We've faced extinction before and prevailed. We will not bow to alien overlords who want to treat us like children or slaves. "What are your orders, Madam President?" asked General Gomes. "Activate all defenses. Continue Operation Scattered Stars. And," she paused, turning back to face them, "tell Dr. Bell his team has 48 hours to weaponize the quantum phase technology. We won't strike first, but when the Zith attack, I want a surprise waiting for them." As if in response to her words, alarms suddenly blared throughout the bunker. A young officer rushed in. "Madam President, the Zith scout vessels have changed position. They're moving toward Earth." Hundreds of civilian ships jumped into hyperspace, vanishing from Earth's skies like stars blinking out. Each carried soldiers, weapons, and supplies bound for distant human colonies and secret bases. President Donahue had named this plan Operation Scattered Stars. It was humanity's best hope for survival if Earth fell. On the bridge of the transport ship Aurora, Captain Olivia Bennett watched as her vessel prepared to jump. "All passengers secured," reported her first officer, Sam Wilson. "Cargo holds sealed." "Take us out, Lieutenant," Olivia ordered. "Destination: Proxima Colony." The Aurora shimmered and disappeared, followed by dozens of other ships. On the ground, families waved goodbye, not knowing if they would ever see their loved ones again. Meanwhile, in the underground lab, Kevin Bell hadn't slept in 36 hours. Coffee cups littered his desk as he worked with Dr. Alice Wu to transform their scientific discovery into a weapon. "The quantum phase generator is ready," Alice said, her tired eyes fixed on a glowing blue device the size of a small car. Kevin nodded. "Load the prototype onto the test chip. We need to see if it works against Zith shields." Technicians carefully moved the device into a waiting transport. Kevin turned to Alice. "If this works, we'll build as many as possible in the next 24 hours. "And if it doesn't?" she asked quietly. Kevin didn't answer. They both knew what failure meant. In orbit above Mars, Captain Frank Reeves' ship, the Vigilant, silently approached a small Zith scout vessel. The Vigilant's new stealth technology kept it hidden from Zith sensors. "Ready the magnetic grapples," Frank ordered. "We need to capture that ship intact." His crew moved with practiced precision. The grapples shot out, latching onto the Zith vessel before its crew could react. Specialized jammers blocked their distress signals. "Boarding team ready," announced Security Chief Dana Miller. Frank nodded. "Go." Dana led 6 armored soldiers through an airlock and onto the alien ship. Stunners flashed as they encountered the Zith crew. Minutes later, Dana's voice came through Frank's earpiece. "Ship secured. 5 Zith captured. No casualties." Frank smiled for the first time in days. "Download their tactical data. I want to know their attack plans." Back on Earth, Ambassador Carter and Lisa Gray met with representatives from Earth's military in a fortified command center. "Our new allies have sent us something," Williams said, placing a small device on the table. It projected a holographic map of the solar system, showing all Zith ships, even the cloaked ones. General Gomes studied the map closely. "This changes everything. We can target their fleet precisely now." "There's more," Lisa added. "The Novali have provided shield frequency data. The Breskins sent weapon specifications. Each ally has given us something to help." "Why would they risk so much for us?" asked a colonel. William's face was serious. "Because if we win, it changes the galaxy forever. If we lose, they remain slaves to the Council for another 1,000 years." In Washington, D.C., Maria Wright noticed a pattern in her intelligence data. She rushed to her supervisor's office without knocking. "Sir, I found something," she said breathlessly. "Look at the communication records from the Zith fleet." Her boss studied the screen, his eyes widening. "They're waiting for something. A signal." "Yes," Maria said. "I think they've planted bombs in our major defense installations. They're waiting to trigger them before attacking." Her boss grabbed his secure phone. "Get me General Gomes immediately." Across Earth and its colonies, security teams raced to find hidden explosives. They discovered them in shield generators, weapon platforms, and communication centers. The bombs were removed just hours before they would have detonated. In the vast blackness of space beyond Neptune, 7 fleets from 7 different alien species moved silently toward predetermined coordinates. None communicated with each other. None revealed their presence. But each knew their part in the plan. On the Novali command ship, Kelnar watched his fleet prepare for battle. "Hold position at the jump point," he ordered. "Wait for the signal from Earth." His second-in-command looked nervous. "The Council will consider this treason." "Yes," Kelnar agreed. "And perhaps the greatest act of freedom in 1,000 years." On Earth, final preparations were made. City shields hummed to life. Military vessels took defensive positions. In the Rocky Mountain Laboratory, Kevin's quantum phase weapons were loaded onto fighter ships. Then, just as dawn broke over North America, the alarm sounded. The Zith fleet had begun to move in formation. All ships were on attack vectors. President Donohue's voice echoed across all communication channels. "All forces, battle stations. The future of humanity begins today." The sky above Earth lit up with flashes of light as the Zith fleet launched their attack. Hundreds of purple warships dropped their cloaking shields and fired energy weapons at Earth's defenses. The city shields glowed blue as they absorbed the first impacts. In the command center, General Gomes watched the battle displays with a tight expression. "They're testing our defenses," she said. "The main attack hasn't started yet." President Donahue stood beside her. "How long will our shields hold?" "Against this level of fire? Maybe 6 hours, when they bring in their heavy cruisers." The general didn't finish her sentence. She didn't need to. "Launch the fighters," Donahue ordered. "Let's see if Dr. Bell's new weapons work." Across the planet, hangar doors opened. Hundreds of small, fast fighter ships rose into the sky. Each carried a quantum phase disruptor, the weapon Kevin Bell had created from the technology that started this war. Captain Ray Wilson led Blue's squadron, 50 fighters heading toward a cluster of Zith destroyers near the moon. "Remember your training," he told his pilots through the radio. "Get close before firing the disruptors. We only have 1 shot per ship." The human fighters weaved through enemy fire, smaller and faster than the Zith vessels. When they reached attack range, Ray gave the order. "Activate disruptors." 50 blue beams shot toward the Zith ships. Where they hit, the purple shields flickered and died. The Zith destroyers, suddenly vulnerable, tried to retreat. "All weapons free," Ray ordered. His squadron fired everything they had at the unshielded enemy ships. 3 Zith destroyers exploded in silent bursts of fire. Similar scenes played out around Earth as the quantum phase disruptors proved their worth. For the first time, humans had a weapon that could pierce Zith defenses. On the Zith command ship, Admiral Vorthal watched in shock as his first wave took heavy losses. "Impossible," he hissed. "How are they disabling our shields?" "It appears to be related to their quantum phase technology," replied his science officer. "The same technology we tried to prevent them from developing." Vorthal's forehands tightened into fists. "Bring in the heavy cruisers. We will overwhelm them with numbers." Back on Earth, Kevin Bell monitored the battle from his laboratory. "The disruptors are working," he told Alice Wu. "But we don't have enough for a prolonged fight." Alice checked her datapad. "We've built 73 more. They're being installed on fighters now." "It won't be enough," Kevin said grimly. Above them, the battle grew more intense. The Zith brought in their heavy cruisers, massive ships that dwarfed anything in Earth's fleet. Each fired planet cracker beams that strained Earth's shields to breaking point. In orbit around Mars, Captain Frank Reeves watched Earth's defenses falter. "It's time," he said to his communications officer. "Send the signal." A special transmission burst from the Vigilant, encoded in a way only Earth's secret allies would recognize. The message was simple. Now, aboard his ship beyond Neptune, Kelnar received the signal. All Novali vessels jump to Earth coordinates. Attack the Zith rear formations. Across the solar system, 6 other fleet commanders gave similar orders. Space rippled as hundreds of ships from 7 different species emerged from hyperspace behind the Zith fleet. The Zith, focused on Earth, never saw them coming. Breskin beam weapons sliced through Zith engines. Palaxian vine ships wrapped around Zith cruisers, immobilizing them. Dorn missiles targeted Zith weapon systems with perfect accuracy. On Earth, General Gomes stared at her display in amazement. "What's happening?" Ambassador Carter smiled. "Our allies have arrived." The battle shifted dramatically. Caught between Earth's forces and the surprise attack, the Zith fleet broke formation, but the victory was far from certain. The Zith still outnumbered the combined fleets, and their technology was more advanced than most of their attackers. 3 Zith heavy cruisers broke through Earth's defenses. They fired planet crackers at North America, Asia, and Europe. City shields failed under the assault. Buildings crumbled. Millions of people watched in horror as destruction rained from the sky. In Washington, D.C., the White House shook as nearby buildings collapsed. President Donahue refused to evacuate to a bunker. Instead, she walked outside and looked up at the battle raging in the sky. "Get me a global broadcast channel," she told her aide. "The people need to hear from their president." As fires burned around her and Sith weapons continued to fall, Elaine Donahue prepared to address humanity in perhaps its darkest hour. President Elaine Donahue stood amid the ruins of Washington, D.C. Cameras broadcast her image to every screen on Earth and its colonies. Despite the dust on her suit and the cut on her forehead, she looked strong and determined. "People of Earth," she began, "today we face the true face of the Galactic Council, not as mentors or allies, but as conquerors who cannot accept our freedom." As she spoke, the battle continued overhead. Human fighters and allied alien ships fought desperately against the Sith fleet. "We are not alone in this fight," Donahue continued. "Species who have suffered under Council rule for centuries have joined us. Together, we form the Free Worlds Coalition, fighting for the right of all beings to control their own destiny." The speech reached the soldiers fighting in space, giving them new energy. It also reached the Council headquarters, where many delegates watched in shock as their carefully built system of control began to crumble. Meanwhile, in the captured Zith scout ship, Ambassador William Carter and Lisa Gray made an incredible discovery. They had been examining the ship's database, looking for tactical information, when they found something far more important. "Look at this," William said, pointing to strange symbols on the screen. "These are restricted Council files. Top-level security." Lisa translated the alien text. "It's about energy harvesting, something called psychic resonance." As they dug deeper, the horrible truth emerged. The Galactic Council, led by the ancient races, had been secretly harvesting a rare form of energy produced only by developing sentient species. This says the energy is strongest when species reach a certain technological level, but remain unaware of their potential. William Reed. "Once they achieve full independence, the energy production drops," Lisa finished. "That's why they keep younger species dependent. They're farming us for this energy." William's face paled. "And the quantum phase technology we developed accidentally disrupts the harvesting process. We need to tell the president," Lisa said urgently. On the Vigilant, Captain Frank Reeves received their transmission. "I'll pass this to Earth immediately," he promised. "This changes everything." In the Rocky Mountain Laboratory, Kevin Bell and Alice Wu made their own discovery about the quantum phase technology. "It's not just a weapon," Kevin explained to General Gomes through a video call. It's a key to something far bigger. The quantum field we're manipulating exists everywhere in the universe. It connects all matter, all energy. What does that mean in practical terms, Doctor? Gomes asked impatiently. Alice answered, "It means we can use it to communicate instantly across any distance, to detect energy patterns anywhere, and most importantly," she hesitated, "to see the energy harvesting machinery the Council has hidden throughout the galaxy." General Gomes' eyes widened. "Can you prove this?" Kevin nodded. "We modified a satellite with a quantum phase detector. Look at these images." The screen showed Earth from orbit, but with strange, spider-like structures visible over major population centers. These structures weren't physical. They existed in another dimension, reaching into our reality like hands into water. These devices have been feeding on human potential for decades, Alice explained. They're on every world in Council space. As this information spread, the tide of the battle began to turn. Human forces, though badly damaged, fought with renewed purpose. The 7 allied species pressed their advantage against the surprised Zith fleet. On the Novali command ship, Kelnar received the data about the energy harvesting. He immediately transmitted it to all ships in the coalition. "This confirms what some of us have suspected for centuries," he told his officers. "We've been cattle to them, nothing more." Word of the Council's true purpose spread rapidly through the ranks of all species. Even some Zith ships, commanded by younger officers who had been kept ignorant of their leaders' actions, stopped fighting. Admiral Vorthal, seeing his forces hesitate, made a desperate decision. "Pull back the fleet," he ordered. "Target Earth with the singularity weapon." His weapons officer looked alarmed. "Sir, that would destroy the entire planet." "Do it," Vorthal hissed. "We cannot allow this rebellion to spread." As the Zith command ship positioned itself for the planet-killing strike, a small human vessel approached it undetected. The ship carried a prototype quantum phase device more powerful than any built before. At its controls sat Kevin Bell himself. He had insisted on delivering this final weapon personally. "For Earth," he whispered, and activated the device. Kevin's small ship approached the massive Zith command vessel. His quantum phase device hummed with power, glowing blue in the darkness of his cabin. He had one chance to stop the singularity weapon that would destroy Earth. "I'm in position," he radioed to Alice Wu. "Starting the sequence now." The device activated, sending waves of blue energy toward the Zith ship. Unlike the earlier weapons that simply disabled shields, this prototype did something more profound. It revealed the hidden dimensional layers where the Council's energy harvesting machinery existed. Aboard the Zith command ship, Admiral Vorthal watched in horror as strange structures became visible throughout his vessel. Spindly, spider-like machines that had been invisible for millennia suddenly appeared, pulsing with stolen energy. "What is happening?" he demanded. Before anyone could answer, Kevin's device sent a second pulse. This one didn't just reveal the machines, it disrupted them. The harvesting devices began to collapse, releasing the energy they had collected over centuries. Across the galaxy, the same thing was happening. On hundreds of worlds, people saw the hidden machines appear and then crumble. The released energy caused strange phenomena: glowing skies, temporary weightlessness, and brief moments where everyone could sense each other's thoughts. In the Council chambers, delegates watched their holographic displays in shock as their secret system fell apart. Some of the oldest races, those who had designed the energy harvesting, tried desperately to save it. Others, learning the truth for the first time, turned against their former leaders. On Earth, Frank Reeves' ship joined a final assault on the weakened Zith fleet. With their energy harvesting system disrupted and many of their own ships now refusing to fight, the Zith began to retreat. "They're running," Frank told his crew with a tired smile. "We've won." But the victory came at a cost. Kevin Bell's ship, too close to the quantum disruption, was caught in the energy backlash. His final transmission was calm. Tell everyone it was worth it. 6 months later, Earth had begun to rebuild. The destroyed cities were being reconstructed. The dead had been honored with monuments, and humanity had taken its place as a leader in a very different galaxy. In a new meeting hall in Geneva, representatives from over 100 species gathered. They had once been council members. Now they were founding members of the Free Worlds Coalition. President Donahue addressed the assembly. 6 months ago, we stood alone against oppression. Today, we stand together as equals, not ruled by ancient powers, but cooperating by choice. Ambassador William Carter, now the head of Earth's diplomatic corps, looked out at the gathered aliens. The Blue Navali, the Golden Breskins, the Tiny Jerry, former enemies and new friends. 1/3 of the former council members had joined the coalition. Others remained neutral. Only the oldest races, those most involved in the energy harvesting, still opposed them. Lisa Gray, now Carter's right hand, leaned toward him. Did you ever think, when we walked out of the council that day, that this would be the result? William shook his head. Never. I just knew we had to be free. On the stage, Kellenar of the Novali spoke after President Donahue. For millennia, my people believed we were too weak to stand alone. We accepted lesser status out of fear. Humans showed us another way. They showed us that freedom requires courage, but it is always worth the price. The final speaker was Alice Wu, who had continued Kevin Bell's work with the quantum phase technology. She had made remarkable discoveries in the past months. The energy the council harvested from us wasn't just power, she explained. It was potential. The potential of species to grow, to create, to become more than they were. By taking that energy, they limited what we could become. She activated a small device, and a hologram appeared, a galaxy filled with bright points of light. This is what we see now with our quantum sensors. Each light is a species, growing in its own way, no longer constrained. As the assembly ended, Captain Frank Reeves, now Admiral Reeves, stood on his ship's bridge, looking down at Earth. In the 6 months since the battle, human ships had ventured further into space than ever before. They had found new allies, new worlds to explore. Set course for the Andromeda mission, he told his navigator. It's time to see what's beyond our galaxy. The day humanity departed the Galactic Council was the day the universe learned what freedom truly meant.